Hi, everyone. Sorry, I think I had some microphone issues. I hope it's better now. So sorry for this. It turns out to be much more complicated than I thought to host this live stream, but I'm happy that it works now. So I have with me today the incredible Sushiswap team. Sushiswap started as a clone of Uniswap, but today it's differentiated itself on a number of fronts by building awesome products such as Kashi, a lending platform, but also Miso, which we're going to talk about today. Miso is basically a launchpad for projects to launch a token in a successful way by being able to choose from different recipes. And we're going to explore Miso in depth today with Rachel and Chef Gonpashi, which have built this product at Sushiswap. They're responsible for it. So I'm going to add them to the stream now. And later, we're going to respond to all the questions that you might have about this product. So I have here Rachel and Chef Gonpashi. Hey, guys. Sorry for the technical hiccup.
Welcome.
Hey, guys.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. A little bit of introduction. My name's Rachel, and I'm the product manager at Sushiswap. Great to be here today.
So I'm Chef Gonpachi.
Yeah.
And today's been a really busy day.
I can imagine. Have you already launched the product, or is it in the next couple of hours?
So we've been on test nets and we've done multiple deployments. What we're doing now is just doing the final checks and mainnet deployment. We'll be passing over to the Sake team and they'll be able to create one of their first options using Miso.
Cool. So tell me a bit, how did you have the idea about Miso? Was it like, how long has this been in the making?
Well, the original inspiration came from a gentleman called Boki Puba, and he made something called the Ether vending machine. And one of the coolest thing I've seen on Ethereum was basically a simple web page that was a form that could make a contract. And once I saw that, I basically had the foundations of Miso in my head, and I kind of built the product around that simple idea.
And Rachel, I saw that you have in your Twitter bio that you work at Sushiswap and at Yearn. Is that common? Do you share a lot of colleagues work for both teams since the merger happened?
Yeah, I think we're all contributors, right? We're all core contributors to both projects, the Yearn ecosystem. So I'd say, all of us are advancing towards making DeFi possible everywhere in the world. And I'd say both projects are working harmoniously together. Yeah,
that's cool. So could you give us a high-level overview of Miso?
Yeah, absolutely. So at its heart, Miso is a smart contract factory. And so what that means is that we have a number of different templates that people can come on and with a few clicks make their own contracts, whether it be a token or an option or to launch something on Sushiswap. So the idea is that the platform will be able to grow as the community kind of adds new contracts, but essentially it's just a factory for new contracts to be made.
Okay. And so in the blog post, I read about different recipes. So it seemed almost like a library that, projects that wanted to, launch a token, they could customize their launch in a set of different ways. So could you elaborate about the different recipes?
Yeah, so what we start with a few basic ingredients. And the first ingredient you mentioned were tokens. And so you can have a few different flavors of tokens. And so you can have just a standard token that, mint once. You have a mintable in case, more is more, you want to have more tokens. And then we have, and as an homage to the wonderful sushi, we have the sushi token. We have a fork of the sushi token that you can use and deploy yourself. The cool thing about the sushi token is that it comes with governance. And so if you wanted to grow and have governance that has that ability. So that's the token ingredient. The next ingredient is kind of all of our auctions. So we call it the marketplace. And so once you created a token, you might want to get it out there. And so we have a number of different marketplace templates. So a crowd sale, a Dutch auction, and a batch auction. And we can go into why they're important later, but we also have a bunch of other factories that do farming and launching and a few other things. But for now, our first two ingredients are the tokens and the auctions. And the idea is that in the future, what a recipe kind of does, a recipe would hit each of those different factories and do all of the things in one transaction. So maybe someone wanted to create a token, launch it, sell some, put some away in a vault, and farm some. In the future, we'll be able to do that all in one transaction. So that's what the recipes do, but they need the ingredients. And so what we're launching today are our first two ingredients, the tokens and the marketplace.
And so for the tokens, launching a fixed supply token and then one with a minting function, so the project can choose to mint more tokens as if they need more some stage later in their life. And then the third one is a governance token. So what does it actually mean, a governance token? So it has some voting functions. Does it use like the compound governance structure that is common, or how does that work?
It is actually heavily based on the compound governance alpha contracts, but they're the sushi version. So it's just a fork of the sushi contracts. And I thought it was a very interesting, nice touch to kind of have the sushi token that people can make themselves.
Okay. Yeah, and so for the auctions, you have the crowd sale. Could you explain like how they differ, the different types of auctions that exist? Yeah,
absolutely. So you don't have to bring any of the tokens with you. You can bring your own token. So the token factory is just really nice for people to test and try themselves. Normally, any project who's kind of worth their weight will, probably make some changes or deploy their own token. But for everyone, it might be just, a normal use case might just make a token. So once you have a token, you might want to distribute it to people who are interested in your project. So the first and the most common one is a crowd sale. Everyone knows what a crowd sale is. A bunch of tokens get traded for a set price. And if you've ever been behind the scenes or working with a project that's on a crowd sale, generally what would happen is you would spend 2 to 3 weeks in meetings, and the meetings would be, what price are we going to sell the token, how much percentage, what market cap. And so there is a lot of, I would say, financial engineering that goes into what becomes a crowd sale. The real risk is that with any crowd sale, you want to have a successful sale, but you don't want to underprice or overprice the token. So if it's underpriced, what we have is that, 1,000 people just trying to ape in on day zero, and gas wars and a whole. So there's been a number of incidents throughout Ethereum's history that, with crowd sales that have just been hammered from day one. The opposite problem is also a problem. So if you priced it too high, then the crowd sale wouldn't be successful. And so it kind of stalls. So there is this kind of sweet spot for pricing it, and a lot of financial engineering happens. The second solution to this is
with the crowd sale, you don't really have like an organic price discovery. It's sort of a gamble for the project. They set a price at the beginning, and you must hope that it's not too high and not too low, and you've kind of hit the sweet spot.
And if you've ever been in some of these meetings beforehand, it's generally, other people who would dictate the price of these sort of things. So generally, by the time it comes to a public sale, these prices are kind of locked in. And, if they say that we're selling it at 10 cents, it's 10 cents. Sometimes we don't really have a say in that. The alternative is to have what we call pricing curves. And so there's a few different variations of price curves. We have, for example, it might be an NFT example, but it's kind of relevant. So like the Meebits sale that just happened was a declining price. It was called a Dutch auction, but it was actually a declining price auction. And so this is fantastic for someone like Lava Labs because they have a very successful, popular product. And it was essentially a crowd sale. Everyone bought it at 2.5 ethers. You have the problem with these declining price auctions that no one wants to be first. Unless it's Meebits, generally people don't want to pay the high price first. They kind of want to wait. So there's these game theory scenarios where everyone's interest is to kind of wait for the lower price. The second price curve is kind of this rising, these bonding curves that just popularized a couple of months ago, that as the price goes up, it becomes more and more expensive. And while that is fantastic for some projects, you can have other projects like Bastard Ganpunks, for example, who kind of stalled with their pricing curve. So it went too high too fast, and it was a very successful project, but the last couple of tokens were unminted. And so the question is, well, why don't we just all throw our money in the table for a certain number of tokens and then divide that up evenly? So
yeah, that's a bit like the IBCO auction from that Molly used from Hedgic, where
absolutely
all the users deposited in a pool. There's a set number of tokens. Everyone knows how many tokens there are in total, and then at a given date, it's divided among all the people who have deposited ETH or USDC. And yeah, I guess it's fair.
I love it, yeah.
But you don't really know what price you're gonna get at the moment you deposit, right? Because many people also wait until the very end to see how much ETH is in the pool already. But yeah, it's a good mechanism, and I guess you're taking a stance of like giving projects a number of different tools, and then they can choose what they prefer. But it's about giving them the option, right?
Yeah, so our second option, so we have crowd sales, and I skipped the pricing curves, and the second option is what we call batch auctions. And Molly's IBCO was an example of a batch auction where everyone throws money in the table. So this is, and you've raised two very interesting, so it was very successful for her project because everyone threw in tens of millions of dollars. And you are right, there was this kind of FOMO right at the end as it kind of sold out. But it does have so a batch auction is fantastic for unlimited raises. In Molly's example is fantastic because she'd never had to really set a high cap. She just said, we're selling God knows how many, and everyone threw a bunch of money. There was no time element. It's kind of like an eBay bid at the end. Like there was this sniper scenario where you were worried that people right at the end could throw a lot of money and conversely dilute you a lot. And so the third and final, so to be clear, I have a lot of auction types that I would love to add to Miso, but for now it's crowd sales, batch auctions, and the third is a Dutch auction.
I can see that you studied the space quite a lot.
It's fascinating. Price discovery is beautiful. It's a very interesting problem.
Yeah.
A lot of people have won Nobel Prizes over this, just researching what the best way to do a fair price. And so Dutch auction is the oldest of them. Dutch auction is, maybe not the oldest, but it is a 400-year-old idea. And the idea is that it is this essentially like a batch auction that everyone throws their money in, except the price starts high and ends low. And as people contribute more and more funds, the effective token price goes up until it meets the declining price. And so a true Dutch auction does two things. Everyone pays the same fair price. Same as a batch auction, everyone pays the same fair price. But a Dutch auction can end early and it drives a level of FOMO into that, because as the price is coming down and as the contributions and effectively the token price is going up, they kind of meet in the middle. And so you want people to contribute early, and there's some really beautiful economics that happen, because if you contribute at the start of the auction, you know you're still going to get the fair price. And as the price drops, you end up getting more tokens, not less. Anyway, it's a very fascinating auction mechanic. Very old.
For sure.
I love it. It definitely made the cut.
So which tools do you think were available to projects before you guys launched Miso, or you will launch Miso in a couple of hours? So yeah, what kind of tools did projects use, and how do you think Miso innovates or improves on that?
I'll let Rachel.
So I think a lot of projects, for example, Starters, are only for private sales, right? And they're only exclusive to a certain amount of people and a certain amount of projects. So one of the things that we're trying to innovate, not only is it that creating a token or creating an auction could be done within a few clicks, right? In which some of the projects will be able to see in the first couple of weeks, and then we'll open up the factory, which includes token creation and auction creation for the public. But if you take a look at the interface, you can, to be accurate, you can literally create a token in one click, and you can literally create an auction in 2 to 3 clicks, right? And we're opening that up to the public, in which we want to democratize and make the launchpad more accessible to not privileged projects, but also projects that are just trying to change the DeFi ecosystem, who have good ideas and good product, and also who want to contribute to the sushi ecosystem. So I think that's our main goal. I think another case is that we're not only making it accessible to project founders, but also for buyers, for people who want to buy certain tokens. We're making it accessible to possibly everyone who's listening to this and everyone who knows about Miso to go in and take a look at the projects they're interested in and buy the token they want. So I think making the launchpad accessible for our whole ecosystem is really our main goal, which also intersects with the sushi goal and the vision that we have, which is we hope to build a suite of DeFi tools in which people can come to sushi ecosystem and never have to leave again. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know from Mesa, the DEX from, I think it uses a Dutch auction, it's from Gnosis, and then there's also the balancer LBP model, but I feel like they're both not really user-friendly. And from the mockups that I've seen in the blog post, Miso really looks a bit like a crowdfunding platform where there's a lot of rich information. Projects can also like display videos and links, and it looks really, user-friendly, normie-friendly. But I see there's a really good questions already in the comments. Before we take a couple of them, would you like to give us a little tour of the Miso interface and maybe walk us through the process step by step, how a project would go from no token to token creation and eventually the auction as well?
I have a very good question. I have a question here that is talking about sniping bots, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So a sniping bot is what happens with crowd sales. That's exactly what, half of the Alchemix supply was sniped in a single bot. Yeah, that happens. But the idea is that with a Dutch auction, you set the price so high, and then you have an auction that might start at $1,000 and drops to $10. And everyone's going to pay the same fair price. So if the bot's going to ape in, then everyone pays the same fair price. I think bots are more of a crowd sale problem, but crowd sales are pretty useful, so they're there too. So anyway, we'll have a look at the platform.
Yeah, excited.
Good question.
Yeah, there's a couple of others as well that I want to take, but I think it makes sense to make this all a bit more tangible by looking at the interface first. Rachel, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, let me just, so it's not on mainnet yet, right? We're still actually actively deploying on mainnet at this moment as we talk. So I will actually share our staging link. Just give me 1 second, I'm trying to open it up. Or if, Gonpachi, you have it on your computer, you can also feel free.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, we've actually had a lot of fun with this because we've been playing internally with our own auctions as well. So I don't know.
I can imagine. Fun. So what kind of tokens did you launch internally?
Someone's got here Earth Protocol Love token, whatnot. I'll let Rachel play with it.
Cool.
I've got a few things on my screen, obviously. One other question: can you launch without coding? So you can actually launch without coding, but generally people might want to bring their own token. So normally people would want to have a look, but if you wanted to, you could. Yeah, you would make a token and you would do a crowd sale.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's able to see my screen.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, I can at least.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you can, hopefully everyone can. So right here we have a marketplace in which you, as a buyer, you can go into the live sales. You can see we have Soda Finance, we have Game Station, which is our just test auctions, right? We also have upcoming, in which they're the ones that are coming in 16 days. They're the ones that are coming in 17 days, and this one indicates it's crowd sale. We also have past. So past is finalized, in which one of these live sales will ultimately finish in about, right, for example, this one in about 6 days. After that, it will move to the past sales. Now we're in, let's take a look at Miso. So let's take a look at our very first auction, which is sake. Mm-hmm. So sake is our very own sushi curated NFT. So that will be our very own first token created, as well as auction that's live on Miso. So if you go in, you're able to see we have white paper, we have the GitHub link, we also have their Telegram link, as well as docs. On this side is more so auction details. On this side is more so the project details, right? So we have a Dutch auction in which descends from 0.1 ETH going down to 0.05. Right now, the auction is still ongoing at a price of 0.06 ETH. And if you're a buyer interested in to buy some sake token, you can buy, for example, if I buy this much, then I commit, then auction, then buy, purchase completed, right? That's a very simple interface of how you go in to take a look at the sake token and you buy and commit.
So is this mock data, or is the sale already happening before the site has been deployed?
Yeah, this is mock data.
Yeah, okay. We've had fun.
So is this going live later, the sake token launch?
Yeah, so I'd also like to use this opportunity to sort of walk through our decision process. So our very first token is going to be sake, and auction will be sake, and this will be live as an upcoming auction today. And the auction will actually go live on the 20th, meaning that people can go into this specific interface to commit and buy some sake. Then afterwards, we'll have a second project that we are already committed to that we'll be launching. And after that, we have 2 batches of projects that we pre-selected as we think are the ones that are fit for our sushi ecosystem as well as our users. So then afterwards, after the 2 batches, we'll open up the factory interface to the public. So here, also wanted to give you guys a little bit of a walkthrough in which we have fixed, we have mintable. Fixed meaning that you need to put in the total supply, right? Mintable, initial supply. Sushi is also initial supply. And you are able to customize your token name and token symbol. After a few clicks, you're able to deploy, and you're able to see that your token is deployed here.
Yeah.
Yep. And say that you've already created a token, and then we go into the sale.
So I've done some magic that I've actually hidden it. You'll need to connect and go to the testnet. So
okay, that's okay. I think we don't have to show the exact
playing with gas,
interface, but I think for users who are very initial users, right? The Bob type of people, I think. Okay, I think this will be.
Yeah. So one thing you can do is actually connect, and what we'll see is one of the questions was what networks will we support?
Right.
And so what you'll see is that when you connect, I have deployed it already on all of the Ethereum testnets. I've gone ahead and deployed it on the Binance Smart Chain testnet, and we'll probably add a few extra testnets in the next couple of days. But the idea is that the only thing that Miso really needs is Sushiswap. So anywhere that there's a Sushiswap exchange and the bento box. And so that currently exists on 13 different networks. If I just look here, if I click my connect, we've got Phantom, Matic, XDAI, Harmony. So there's a number that we can actually deploy. There's just some UI trickery because a lot of these Binance is a testnet. Funny. So a lot of these things from the smart contracts will probably get deployed all together. And what we'll work on in the next weeks is to do the UI tricky because, for example, the base currency is not ETH. It might be, ADX, and some of the explorers have different links. So there's just a bit of smarts that have to be baked in. But technically, there's nothing stopping us from going anywhere that Sushi is.
There's a good question. Is the platform permissionless? Because I guess you don't want any scammy projects to launch on Miso. I suppose that at the smart contract level, probably anyone can launch a token using the factory. But would you also include them in the user interface, the front end? Or how does that work? I guess you will progressively open it up. Can you elaborate on that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say why we are going through the decision-making process of batch 1, batch 2, is because we want to set the precedence that we don't accept any scammy project on this platform, as we want to maintain as a verified and reputable launchpad. So we're setting the precedence by choosing the pre-selected batch 2, batch 1. So afterwards, though, we are going to be permissionless, in which we will open the interface to public. By then, we have no control over anything. But prior to that, we hope to at least set that precedence, right? So people, by people, I mean the buyers, are able to identify which one are the scammy ones, which one are the verified ones.
But in the end, you always control the front end, right? So will that also be completely permissionless in that you take a stance of we don't judge the project's merits, even if it's like hacks, we show the project in the interface so users can make their own choice, or will you curate a little bit?
I think the question then is how do you do decentralized curation? And that's a very interesting question. I think what we might do is, one, the factories will be completely open. So, there might be actually an incentive for someone to have a curated version of some of these auctions. Someone like yourself might have a curated list of auctions that you might like. One of the things we're thinking about is how to do decentralized curation, but ultimately, just the same way that no one can stop you from creating a Sushiswap liquidity pair, no one should be able to stop you in the future to, make and do whatever you want on Miso.
Right. And the beauty is that you have already a governance token, so maybe that can be used for curation, right? Sushi holders could decide which projects get shown in the UI, or even use the factory contracts.
Yeah, so
I think a lot of interesting things could happen from the curation. I'm not sure exactly what the solution is, but Rachel might have some ideas. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think in terms of that, we don't want to put our hands too deep into selecting and pre-selecting, but we'll only do that for the first batch and second batch. First batch will be around 10 projects. Second one will be mostly 15 to 20. But after that, it's we hope at least it'll be completely out of our hands, right? But we do have a plan B coming up, which we'll be announcing this Friday. So far, I will talk about anything related to that, but I hope everyone is staying up to what we're doing, and I think that process is going to be very, very interesting as well for Miso verification.
What type of user do you expect, or project do you expect will use the launchpad? Do you think it's more like non-technical projects, I don't know, community tokens or social tokens, or do you think actually a DeFi protocol, the next curve could use something like the launchpad?
Yeah, that's a really good question. At least from our side, we're hoping to at least have the top projects, right, be on our platform, and we don't exclusively say we're only for big projects or we're only for social, right? But I think at least we want projects that are legitimately building products, that are legitimately serving the community, and that are legitimately advancing the future of decentralized finance. For the projects that are sort of just wanting to scam other people's money, I think those are the ones that we hope to at least scurry away. But so far, I think any type of project we definitely welcome, and we will be posting a link, however, very soon. And if projects that are interested, feel free to sort of apply through that link or reach out to one of our teams.
Yeah, someone has said tester token, because I've been toying with the idea of launching a community token for the Cryptotesters community. So
right.
Indeed, it could be a great fit.
Definitely.
Yeah, super interesting. And so to recap, with the different networks such as FTM, Matic, BSC, it's trivial for you to launch there, but first of all, you will launch on Ethereum mainnet. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's the plan.
Okay. Yeah, because it would be beautiful to use this with the cheap fees of, for example, Matic.
Yeah, we tested it. It works exactly the same. It's actually, I thought it was going to be harder, but we've done everything the right way. We've put a lot of engineering effort to avoid things like subgraph. There's not all networks have subgraph, for example. A lot of the things that we've done are all on chain, very permissionless. You don't have to, we don't run any databases or anything like that to run Miso. Miso kind of just lives on its own. And so because of that, we can do it on all the networks. It doesn't really, it's just a deployment for us.
Nice. Yeah, it reminds me in a lot of ways of CoinList, the centralized exchange that does a lot of token launches, but it's totally centralized. It's you have to KYC, obviously. There's like waiting lists. So it's in a lot of ways it's like CoinList, but just much better. I think a fiat on-ramp could be nice, such as Ramp or MoonPay, so that even users who don't have any crypto could participate in a launch. That would be a nice addition.
Definitely.
One question that I had was about how does this benefit sushi holders, do you think?
I have one funny example. For whatever reason, there was, some scams that kind of launched on Uniswap trying to do a Miso token for whatever reason. And I think it's just a lot of everyone is just so used to that. So I think what the benefit towards the sushi ecosystem is just to have a very strong launchpad that people can actually launch and create these pools on Sushiswap. We'll have a set of tools that will also what I'm calling the post-auction launcher. And what a post-auction launcher does is, let's say you wanted to do a crowd sale, and half of the proceeds of that sale goes to creating a Sushiswap liquidity pool. So with the post-auction launcher, as the crowd sale finishes or the auction finishes, all of that would just happen very trustlessly. Too many times I've seen projects that were scammed by people who had done a sale and never put the liquidity on the project. So with a post-auction launcher, this just happens automatically, and it happens on Sushiswap. So I think that the more projects that are born and created, and capital goes to support these projects, and liquidity gets provided to help these projects trade, and that trading is happening on Sushiswap, of course, it's just going to be this massive funnel for all sorts of new projects to launch on Sushiswap. You have to appreciate that they're going to be a next batch of new DeFi projects. The likes of Aave and Yearn and Sushi were 6 to 12 months old, and so as the next batch of these come through, they're going to drive a tremendous amount of volume. And what you would hope is that they were born and get created on something that we created.
Yeah, I think it will definitely bring a lot of new users to Sushiswap because it's the place where the new hot projects launch. But yeah, also if you think that these projects then also deploy their liquidity pools and farming on Sushiswap, it basically before Miso, I think a lot of projects would by default just launch their farming on Uniswap just because it's the most well-known exchange to date. And here you basically go one step earlier into the life cycle of a project and try to get them to Sushiswap.
Yeah, one good question that just came up, mechanisms to verify locking investing. So in the post-auction launcher, you can specify a lockup period. And so that's a very common thing. People hate liquidity being pulled from them. It's called a rug pull. And so absolutely, that's definitely part of the plan. Because Miso is a smart contract factory, we can make all sorts of different beautiful, critical Lego bits for infrastructure. So we talked about multi-chain. Just an idea that I had was to have, a factory for bridges, the same way that you make a factory for tokens or auctions or launches or farms. You can make a bridge contract. And so I think as we go forward, we'll find that Miso becomes a very interesting and important bit of infrastructure in terms of creating these templates and these very useful contracts.
Yeah, and I also read in the blog post that projects that would launch on Miso would then also potentially put some of their liquidity into a Sushiswap pool and then also automatically be enlisted for the Onsen program. Is that something that will be added later, or is it already? Yeah, will it be shipped with the mainnet version today?
So that part is called the launcher, right? But I think in terms of the Onsen part, we aren't automatically listing. We are still we're prioritizing, I'd say.
Okay.
So I think that would be the right way, yeah. And in terms of will it be today live? It will the interface will not be live today to public. However, it'll be live to the ones that are actually creating the tokens and creating the auctions. So for project founders, we'll be in touch, and at a later date, we decide to open it public, and everyone, the launcher itself will be public to everyone.
Can you tell us?
I'll also try and add to that. I'll definitely see if I can open up some of the test nets as well, because I think that will be fun.
Exactly.
So we can play on some of the test nets. So that's definitely coming, if not sooner than I'd like to say.
Can you tell us a little bit about the sake auction that you'll start with? It's a bit like the equivalent of the Uniswap socks, I suppose. How will it work?
So yeah, so I'd say Sake is a tokenized sort of NFT bridging. The mission is to bridge tradition to technology, right, with quality design. And we have a team of a lot of people, over 20 people, building this. And the actual sake itself is actually unfiltered, undiluted, and really well preserved. Even the ones that are not shipped out, they're very well preserved, like very costly to preserve those, but we are actively trying. And itself, I think it's very different than Unisocks, actually, because one part of our vision is still trying to bridge the traditional aspect to the technology aspect, in which I think is aligning with a lot of what sushi is doing, right? One of our bigger vision upcoming is definitely trying to bridge that traditional user to our main platform, right? So
Rachel, if you can touch on, I only because I've been too busy, but the sake itself looked like it was going to be awesome. I specifically requested a few bottles for myself because it looked fantastic, but it was made by
exactly.
some famous sake brewer, is that correct?
Yeah, so it's curated by Sake Samurai Elliot Faber, and produced also bottle design featuring a lot of designers as well as brewery. And we also have a documentary coming up, which I showed you guys in the interface. So when Miso is live, you'll be able to see sake documentary and learn more about it as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sake. So what will be the starting price? It's using a Dutch auction, right?
Yeah,
You can
exactly.
start at 10 million. It doesn't really matter. It would drop over time. And so
yeah,
we'll let the auctioneers decide that. That's up to them.
yeah.
We just provide the platform.
There's a question from Plexus team. How can projects and founders gain access to Miso?
Yeah, so again, we'll be putting out a form in which you can reach out to us, and our team will try to set up a group and learn more about your project, and learn if there is a fit between us for batch 1 or batch 2. But obviously, if not, afterwards we'll have the interface public. So
cool. Yeah. So at the beginning, sorry.
Yeah, is sake NFT or redeem? So because of the auction, it is an ERC20 and it's redeemable for the NFT. And so if you commit to one bottle of sake, you'll find that as the price goes down, you might get like 1.2 or 1. You might get more tokens, but it is redeemable for a bottle and an NFT.
Cool. I invite the listeners or viewers to ask more questions, or I'll look at any that we haven't taken. Does that mean that people could launch a project without coding? Right, we had that one, yeah? Yep. Okay, well, I think there are no questions anymore. Thank you so much for your time. I have one question. What will you do when there are no more names for new products in the sushi namespace?
no names by me, and there's no customized names.
Right.
What we're thinking of doing a very fun marketing plan is to create a dictionary for sushi. I think a lot of people had requested it, right? I think it'll be an interesting marketing thing to do.
For sure.
But that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I think we should just start working towards all the verbs. So we've got rid of all the nouns, and then we would,
Exactly.
What are the verbs?
Chop, punch.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
I don't know. Once there's run out of food, you'll have to start doing stuff with the food.
I must say the Sushiswap marketing and branding is really on point. I love you guys' avatars and UI, everything. It's
definitely
very nice.
I think a lot of work to sort of put that interface out there, and hope everyone enjoy using the product, and
makes a difference. Cool. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
And
All right.
yeah, see you soon.
See you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Thanks so much.